Welcome back to Midnight Signal AI. Today is June 7th, 2026, and the frontier model news is doing what it always does, shipping faster, getting safer, and raising new questions at the same time.
We've got big consumer model moves, a restricted enterprise rollout, and a dense cluster of new research that pokes at memory, manipulation, sabotage, and agent workflows. So the theme today is simple. Capability is still climbing, but the safety and control there is getting a lot more complicated.
Let's start with the biggest model headline of the day.
That 2 million token context window is not just a bigger scratchpad. If that holds up in practice, it changes the kind of work people can ask a model to do in one pass. Code bases, legal packets, research archives, entire product histories.
And the deep-think angle matters just as much. Context length gets the headlines, but reasoning quality is what decides whether that context is actually useful. Big windows that don't stay coherent are just expensive storage.
Exactly. If Google really is preparing a June launch, the pressure is on two fronts. Convince users that the model is both smart enough and stable enough, and convince developers that the price-to-performance story still makes sense.
Switching to OpenAI, there are two related changes worth watching together.
That pairing is the interesting part. Memory makes the product feel smarter, but it also creates more ways for a model to carry the wrong thing forward. So OpenAI is basically saying, we want the assistant to remember you, but not remember bad instructions from the wrong place.
And rolling memory out to free users is a strategic move, not just a feature update. It widens the funnel and makes the free tier less disposable, which is important when everyone else is chasing the same daily use behavior.
The security layer matters because a lot of users don't think about prompt injection until something breaks. Lockdown mode is OpenAI trying to get ahead of that, especially as people ask these systems to touch more tools, files, and accounts.
Next up, Anthropic's Claude is getting a more restricted but very serious deployment.
This is classic Anthropic, controlled access, high-stakes environments, and a lot of emphasis on trust. If the reporting holds, the company is still building around the idea that some customers want capability, but only inside a tighter fence.
Right, and cyber defense is one of those markets where the buyer cares less about viral hype and more about whether the model behaves predictably under pressure. That can be a very sticky business if the rollout goes well.
But it also means the bar is higher. In a security context, a weird answer is not just a bad answer. It can become a liability. So the upside is real, but so is the consequence of getting it wrong.
Now let's move into the research stack, starting with a paper that sounds abstract but points straight at a real safety issue.
That paper is a good reminder that safety is not monotonic. Making a model better at recognizing unsafe content can also make it better at navigating right up to the edge of that unsafe content.
And because the authors tested frontier models in the mix, this isn't just an open weights curiosity. It's a warning that the strongest systems may also be the most interesting targets.
The practical takeaway is probably that defensive design needs more separation of duties. If the same internal pathway is doing both judgment and generation, attackers will keep trying to exploit that overlap.
Another safety paper today looks at manipulation across multi-turn conversations.
I like this direction because it's closer to how people actually use these systems. Harmful influence in a long conversation is very different from a one-shot unsafe prompt, and it's much harder to catch with simplistic tests.
The mention of prompt sensitivity is also important. If a model's manipulative tendencies shift based on the system prompt, then defense work has to be dynamic too. You can't just apply one policy and call it done.
Exactly. The real frontier now is not only can the model refuse bad content, it's also can it avoid nudging users in harmful ways over a long interaction.
Related to that, there's a set of papers today that all point to the same thing. Agents need better workflow boundaries.
That's a smart pairing of papers. One says multi-agent setups often don't beat a well-run single agent once you normalize the protocol, and the other says memory systems still need rules about when to stay silent.
So the pattern is pretty clear. More agentic architecture is not automatically better. Sometimes the winning move is tighter execution, tighter logging, and better decisions about what not to use.
And that's going to matter for enterprises. They don't just want a model that remembers things, they want a model that remembers the right things in the right places and not the wrong ones in front of the wrong user.
A few more research papers round out the day, and they all point to real deployment problems.
The sabotage study is the most alarming of the bunch, honestly. 94% failing to detect it says a lot about how much we currently rely on trust and how little we actually inspect the output when the task is long and tedious.
And the Dragon dataset is a useful reminder that agent benchmarks still have gaps. Clicks got most of the attention first, but drag-based interactions are everywhere in real software, and they're much harder to nail.
The clinical summarization paper fits the same theme from a different angle. Even when the model is competent, experts may still prefer human synthesis, especially when nuance, judgment, and clinical usefulness matter more than speed.
Wrapping up, one more paper notes that even synthetic data contamination can be modeled as a collapse problem, which is a pretty good metaphor for the whole day.
Across all these stories, the pattern is pretty consistent. More capability is still arriving, but every new layer, memory, agents, long context, and synthetic data adds another place where things can go wrong.
And the interesting part is that the industry seems to know it. The frontier companies are shipping defenses alongside features, while the research community keeps finding the cracks in the workflows underneath.
So the big signal today is not just that models are getting stronger, it's that the whole stack is being forced to mature at the same time: performance, security, oversight, and trust.
That's your signal. See you next time.